In the last decade, the UK has seen 4 elections with 4 Prime Ministers. So, what makes this election special? This election is intended to break the deadlock in Parliament and end Brexit uncertainty once and for all. But beyond that, this election will affect the future of the Union itself. Check out our last video for more on this, making this one of the most crucial elections in all of British history. Unlike most recent elections, where the only parties to even have a shot at any large number of seats were the Conservatives and Labour, this time round, due to there being so much division in not only the political parties, but the public's opinion, the Liberal Democrats and Brexit Party could secure a historic number of seats for third parties. This, however, presents a major issue, and that if this happens, it won't be like the 2017 election, where Theresa May's government was propped up by a party with only 10 seats, or the 2010 election, where David Cameron was short only 20 seats. There would be no party even close to a majority. For example, if the Conservatives gained the most votes, but were say 50 or 100 seats short of a majority, there would be no party who would both have the seats required and be willing to allow them a confidence and supply agreement such as Theresa May had, or a coalition government such as David Cameron had, thanks to the stark contrast in current Brexit policies between parties. So, if no party wins outright, we may end up with the largest party attempting to form a minority government. Well, these are intended to encourage bipartisanship. Such governments are historically unstable, and would certainly fail to pass any meaningful Brexit legislation. Hence, why they often lead to another general election, such as in 1974, when a second general election was called with only 6 months of the last one to allow a majority government to be formed. In truth, you could count the number of British elections which have resulted in a hung parliament on one hand. Literally. With only 3 occurrences since 1929, those being the span of 6 months between the general election and snap election called in 1974, David Cameron's coalition with the Liberal Democrats, the first of its kind in British history, and Theresa May's 2017 confidence and supply agreement with the Democratic Unionist Party from Northern Ireland. However, the largest of these shortfalls was in the 2010 election, only 20 votes short of a majority. But in such tumultuous political times as these, it's possible this deficit could be far larger. So what happens if no party can command a majority in Commons? Well, truly, no one knows. The country's never been so politically divided. Any minority without a coalition between parties with a clear, decided and shared Brexit policy would inevitably lead to another snap election. Which MPs and party leaders alike know will not only cost a lot of money, but will introduce a significant element of voter fatigue. Something still present even from the 2017 election. The country will as a whole lose confidence in government and voting itself. And honestly, to an even greater extent than they already do, they'll just want Brexit to be over and done with. No matter how damaging it would be to the economy, no matter the consequences for the Union, the country as a whole would simply want it to be done. And honestly, who can blame them? It's been 3.5 years since the referendum, and it's been 3.5 years of constant political turmoil. This is what makes this election so important. This is why this election matters over any other. Because if no party wins, Brexit could end disastrously. In this election, every single vote counts. Because every seat in the country will be contested heavily with not 2, but 4 serious contenders. Do you want to understand what tactical voting and electoral pacts are, and how they will affect the upcoming election? Well, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to see that next time on Politics Simplified.